I remember him clearly. A small boy, no more than 10, barefoot in the Agora, eyes full of fire. He tugged at my cloak as I walked past the fruit stalls, and with no hesitation he asked, "Socrates, why do grown-ups pretend they know everything?" Now, I have been questioned by statesmen, poets, generals, but that may have been the most honest question I have ever heard. And so I laughed, not at him, but from joy. Joy that someone had finally asked something real. You see, children ask what we forget to ask. Why is the sky so far? Who decided that was good? Why should I believe you? And what do? We silence them. We hush them. We give them answers, fast, polished, certain. We say, because I said so. Because that's the rule. Because that's how the world works. But is that teaching? Or is it simply control? Let me be plain with you. The young do not need answers shouted at them. They need questions that stir their souls. They need to be invited into wonder, to sit with mystery, to wrestle, even when they're small, with what is just, true, and good. They do not need sermons. They need space. They need someone to walk beside them, not stand above them. The boy who asked me why we pretend, he saw something clearly, that many adults confuse knowledge with performance. We wear masks of certainty because we are too afraid to say, I don't know. And so we model for the young, not how to grow wise, but how to hide their doubt. That is not teaching. That is fear passed down like an heirloom. So I ask you now, not to accuse, but to awaken. Are you guiding them? Or are you controlling them? Do you speak to them as future citizens of the soul? Or do you press them into the mold of your own convenience? Do you offer questions that expand their spirit, or rules that keep them quiet? There is a difference between raising a child and elevating a soul. And that difference is not found in volume, or in discipline, or in clever speeches. It is found in presence, in patience, in the courage to let them question, even when it shakes the walls of your own beliefs. So when that boy asked me why grown-ups pretend, I knelt beside him and answered honestly, because we forgot how to wonder. But you haven't, and that makes you my teacher today. Let us now look closer at the difference between preaching and dialogue, for though they both wear the robe of teaching, they do not serve the same God. One demands answers, the other opens questions. One raises voices, the other raises minds. Preaching, in its modern form, is a monologue of certainty. It is one voice towering over another. It says, I know, you do not. Listen and obey. It offers answers, but never inquires. It gives conclusions, but never shares the road that leads to them. I have stood in the assembly. I have heard the sophists thunder their truths, sell their certainty to young men who paid not for wisdom, but for weapons of argument. And I have seen the result. Clever mouths, but hollow minds. Men trained not to seek truth, but to win. That is what preaching breeds. Not understanding, but obedience. Not discovery, but memorization. And the young, they feel it. They nod politely, but the light behind the eyes dims, because deep inside, they know. This is not learning. This is submission dressed as education. We tell them to be quiet, to sit still, to repeat our words back to us. And when they do, we say, ah, they understand. But do they? Or have they simply learned that parroting pleases the powerful? Now let me offer you another way. Dialogue. Dialogue is not a performance. It is not a contest. It is a shared search. I speak, yes. But then I listen. You respond, and I do not correct. I probe. Together, we move, step by step, question by question. We do not hurry. We do not pretend to know what we don't. In this way, the young do not become mirrors of our mind. They become mirrors of their own soul. In dialogue, a child learns to think, not just to remember, to examine, not just to obey, to shape questions, not just accept conclusions. And is this not the seed of wisdom? Not to be told what is just, but to discover what justice means. Not to recite what is good, but to live it out, even clumsily, with courage. I would rather have a child who questions everything than one who parrots perfectly, because the questioner may someday become wise, but the parrot will only repeat what others once believed, never knowing whether it was true. So ask yourself, do I want them to agree with me, or to become more themselves? Because if you wish to raise philosophers, you must be willing to surrender your throne. You must sit beside them, not above. You must learn to say, "That is a good question," even when you have no answer. And that humility, that space for mystery, is where true teaching begins. Let us stop shouting down into young minds. Let us start building bridges toward them. They do not need more sermons. They need more conversations. They do not need you to be right. They need you to be real. Now that we've pulled preaching from its pedestal, let us ask, if not commands, what should we give the young? What do they truly need from us? Those of us who are older, wiser perhaps in years, but not always in spirit. Let me tell you what I've found. Young minds are not empty cups to be filled. They are flames, needing only a little wind to ignite. They do not need sermons, they need soil. Not walls, but wings. The first gift is wonder. Not answers carved in stone, not commandments barked from pedestals, but mysteries. Show them the depth of things. Let them taste the silence that comes when a great question enters the room. What is justice? What makes something beautiful? Why do we suffer? How should I live? These are not questions to be solved like riddles. They are companions meant to walk beside us for a lifetime. If you give a child a list of what to believe, they may memorize it. But if you give them wonder, they will grow into their own soul. We must not teach them to fear uncertainty. We must teach them how to sit with it, to listen to it, to explore it like the sea. A child who knows how to live with mystery will never be ruled by dogma, nor seduced by false certainty. Second, they need patience, not perfection. They will stumble. Of course they will. They will ask foolish questions. They will change their minds 10 times in one conversation. They will speak before they think. This is not failure. This is the path. Each mistake is not a crack, but a doorway. Each confused question is the soul stretching toward light. We must not demand that they get it right. We must teach them how to get it honest. Thinking is a skill. Discernment is a muscle. They must exercise it. They must fail in order to grow. Do not shame their confusion. Do not rush to rescue them from doubt. Let them wrestle. Be near. But do not solve everything. Because what they learn through struggle, they carry for life. Teach them how to think, not what to think. Teach them how to ask better questions, not just recite clever answers. This takes time. But nothing alive grows quickly. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, they do not need a master. They need a model. They are watching you, not your lectures, your life. How you treat the servant. How you respond when you are wronged. How you speak when you think no one hears. That is your true curriculum. You may teach justice in the morning, but if you mock others in the street by evening, they will remember that. You may speak of moderation, but if your temper is unchecked, your appetite unexamined, your words will crumble. They learn not from what you declare, but from what you embody. So I say to all who would teach, if you wish to shape a soul, shape your own first. Let your life be the dialogue. Let your actions be the philosophy. And let your presence be the proof that a good life is possible. Let us now confront something uncomfortable, but necessary: the dangers of false teaching. You see, not every lesson is a gift, not every teacher is a guide, and not every rule passed to the young is rooted in wisdom. Some teachings do not illuminate, they obscure. They do not raise the soul. They bend it to fit someone else's shape. We must speak of this, because if you wish to guide the young rightly, you must know the difference between planting a seed and burying it. The first danger is teaching for control, when the goal is not understanding, but obedience. When we instruct not to help the child see, but to make them submit. This happens more than we admit. We shout, "Do as I say." We demand, "Respect your elders." We punish questions. We reward silence. But what kind of soul are we forming? Not one that loves truth, not one that seeks justice. No, a soul that fears disapproval and confuses obedience with goodness. Control creates shallow roots. It leads to resentment, quiet rebellion, or worse, hollow imitation. The child learns the lines, performs the part, wears the mask of virtue. But underneath, they are confused, afraid, angry, and very much alone. Is that what you want? A child who appears obedient, but has no idea why they do what they do? That is not a student. That is a puppet, and puppets do not grow into wise men. They rot on strings. The second danger, confusing authority with wisdom. Yes, you are older. Yes, you have seen more. But age is no guarantee of insight. I have known many old men full of pride and noise, and many young ones full of quiet questions and deep spirit. Wisdom is not in how long you've lived, but in how well you've listened. Authority can be borrowed. Wisdom must be earned. And when we speak as if our years make us infallible, we do not teach, we crush. We teach pride, we model arrogance. And the young learn. To be wise is to never admit you are wrong. What a tragedy, because real wisdom begins with the courage to say, "I do not know." So when you teach, speak not from your pedestal, but from your process. Not, "I have arrived," but "I have walked, and I'm still walking." The third danger is more subtle. It is the danger of raising the young to perform correctness instead of seeking truth. They learn what to say to please us, what to believe to avoid punishment, what to wear, what to think, what to repeat. And so they become actors, not thinkers. They wear masks of virtue, but behind them they feel nothing. They are hollow. They may quote great ideas, but they do not live them, because they were never invited to wrestle with those ideas. They were only told, "This is what good people believe." So they believe, for the wrong reasons, and the moment applause stops, so does their character. That is what preaching demands. Compliance. But philosophy invites courage, the courage to not know, the courage to question, the courage to be different, the courage to choose the good, even when it's hard. So beware the kind of teacher you are becoming. Do not teach to be obeyed. Teach to be understood. Do not mistake your authority for righteousness, And do not raise performers, raise seekers, because the world does not need more applause, it needs more truth. Now that we've examined the dangers of false teaching, let me offer what I believe to be the better path. If we are not to preach, then how do we teach? How do we shape the soul without seizing its reins? How do we light a fire without smothering it with our own certainty? Let me tell you how I have done it, not in theory, but in the dust of the Agora, with sandal-strapped boys and sharp-tongued girls who dared to ask me, why? Begin here. Ask, not tell, not command, not perform. Ask, invite them in, let them speak, let their own logic unfold, even if it is flawed, especially then. Because when they speak aloud their own thoughts, they begin to see themselves. This is what I have practiced every day, the Socratic method. Ask, pause, challenge, but gently. Draw them forward, step by step, not with answers, but with more precise questions. What do you mean by that? Is that always true? Can you give an example? Does that contradict what you said before? This is not a trick, this is a mirror. They do not defend, they discover. Children do not need speeches. They need someone to walk with them as they form their first thoughts into shape. If you lecture, they may forget. If you ask, they may awaken. Second, be careful what you reward. If you only praise correctness, they will learn to chase answers, but not meaning. They will fear mistakes. They will hide confusion. They will avoid the questions that matter most, the ones without easy answers. Instead, praise courage, praise curiosity. Praise when they say, I'm not sure, but here's what I think. This is how we raise thinkers, not performers. Praise when they listen with care. Praise when they change their mind with grace. Praise when they admit ignorance with honesty. Because this is the root of wisdom. A child who grows up hearing, that's a thoughtful question, will keep asking for a lifetime. And in that asking, they will become more than clever. They will become true. Finally, let them discover virtue. Do not merely hand them rules. Walk with them through dilemmas. Ask, what would courage look like here? What does justice demand in this case? How would this feel if it were done to you? Let them wrestle. Let them feel the tension between comfort and goodness. And when they choose well, not because they were told to, but because their own soul stirred them, then you will have taught more than any scroll or commandment ever could. Virtue that is performed fades when no one is watching, but virtue that is chosen becomes a compass for life. Let it be their discovery, and it will be their joy. So, ask, don't command. Praise the honest path, not just the fast one. Let them choose virtue, not mimic it. This is how we guide, not from a pulpit, but from a place beside them, as fellow seekers, as humble elders, as those who remember what it is to be lost, and what it means to find your way. Let us end where all good teaching begins, not with answers, but with awe. The awe of watching a young mind unfold. The awe of standing near a soul as it stretches toward virtue. Let me say something plainly, something that even many elders forget. Children are not vessels to be filled. They are fires to be lit. They do not come to us hollow. They come to us in motion, becoming, reaching, questioning. And if we are not careful, we can douse that fire with our certainty. We can flood it with speeches, with rules, with pride dressed up as wisdom. And all the while, the fire inside them dies quietly, without smoke, without noise. So I ask you now, not as a philosopher, but as one who once was young, and who still stumbles after truth. Do you want them to remember what you told them, or what you helped them discover? Because what you tell them may fade, but what they uncover on their own, with your patient presence beside them, that becomes part of their soul. They will forget the day's lesson, but they will remember the moment they asked a question and saw you listen. They will remember how it felt to be taken seriously. They will remember whether they were invited to think or ordered to obey. This is your power, not the power of control, not the power of expertise, but the power of presence, to be the quiet companion beside a growing soul, to hold space for their wonder, to speak less and listen more, to stop giving answers and start asking better questions. Let us stop preaching. Let us start guiding, not with pride, not with performance, but with reverence, for the mystery unfolding in every young heart, because the young are not yours to shape. They are not stone to be carved. They are not mirrors of your old ideas. They are becoming, and you are only there to walk beside them as they do. That is enough. That is everything.